What if the one hero who already knows exactly what it feels like to be turned into a corporate mascot suddenly landed in the one world built entirely around turning heroes into corporate mascots? Metro Man was Metro City's golden boy for decades, worshipped, merchandised, and adored, right up until he got so sick of the performance that he faked his own death just to escape it. Now imagine dropping that exact hero, the one who already lived through the exact nightmare Vought is running, straight into the boys' universe. He wouldn't be confused for a second. He'd recognize the con instantly because he used to be the poster boy for one just like it.
Here's how it happens. Megamind, tinkering with an old dimensional weapon he swiped from one of his own abandoned lairs, fires it off during a friendly sparring session with Metro Man, the kind of harmless practice fight the two of them have started doing now that they're actually friends. The blast doesn't hurt Metro Man, but it catches him mid-air and rips a hole straight through reality, and he gets pulled through it before either of them can react. Megamind is left standing there in his own lab, completely alone, staring at a smoking machine and no idea where his best friend just went.
Metro Man wakes up on a rooftop in a city that looks almost exactly like his own, except something is off. The skyline's wrong. The billboards are wrong. And the first thing he actually notices once he takes off and starts flying over the city to get his bearings is a massive digital ad for something called Vought International, showing off a superhero team like they're selling sneakers. Then he sees another ad, then another, capes on cereal boxes, a hero's face on an energy drink can, a whole toy aisle dedicated to action figures of a team called the Seven. And Metro Man just hovers there in the sky for a second because he has seen this exact playbook before. He lived it. He was the face of it. This isn't Metro City, but it's close enough to feel like looking directly into a mirror he spent years trying to smash. He decides to hang back and just watch for a bit before doing anything. He touches down in an alley, ditches the cape, and walks into the city like a regular guy, something he's had a lot of practice doing since faking his own death. And the more he watches, the worse it gets. He sees a supe casually shove a fan out of the way for a photo op. He sees another supe let a small fire burn a little longer than it needed to, just so the news cameras could get better footage of the eventual rescue. He watches an interview where a hero from this world's version of the Seven talks about their brand partnerships longer than they talk about the people they supposedly saved that week. Metro Man doesn't say a word out loud, but internally he's furious because none of this is new to him. This is exactly the machine he used to be trapped inside of, just with better production value and a bigger PR budget. Still, he doesn't do anything drastic yet. He's not about to start throwing hands based on a few bad vibes. So instead, he does something nobody in this world would ever expect from a hero. He gets a job, a regular one. He starts playing guitar at a dive bar a few nights a week under a fake name, blending in completely, because disappearing into a normal life is a skill Metro Man has had a lot of practice with. During the day, whenever he spots real trouble, actual danger, a fire, a car crash, a mugging, he handles it fast and quiet, then leaves before anyone can get a clean picture. No press conference, no merch deal, just help, then gone. Within about a week, the city starts buzzing about a mystery hero nobody can identify. Someone incredibly strong who shows up, saves people, and vanishes without ever asking for credit. It drives local news outlets crazy because they can't get a name, a face, or a single decent photo. Vought notices almost immediately because Vought notices everything that threatens their bottom line. Homelander notices it faster than anyone because a hero this powerful operating without Vaught's permission is a direct hit to his ego and his brand. Ashley brings it up in a meeting, calling it an unregistered supe situation, and Homelander gets that particular look on his face, the one that means he's already decided this is personal. Stan Edgar wants data before anyone does anything reckless. Homelander wants a name. They send A-Train to sniff him out first, since he's fast enough to actually keep pace with most threats. A-Train tracks the mystery hero down mid-rescue, pulling someone out of a burning apartment building, and tries to strong-arm him into a conversation with Vought. Metro Man barely even looks at him. He finishes pulling the last person out, hands them off to paramedics, and only then turns to A-Train and calmly tells him he's not interested in whatever pitch he's about to make.
A-Train, cocky as ever, grabs his arm to stop him from flying off and immediately regrets it because Metro Man doesn't budge an inch. Not a flinch, not a stumble, nothing. A-Train's entire body language changes in that half second because he's just felt something stronger than Homelander for the first time in his life, and it terrifies him. He backs off, makes up an excuse, and reports straight back to Vought that this guy might be stronger than anyone they've got.
That report lands directly on Homelander's desk, and he does not take it well. He spent years being told he's the strongest thing on the planet, the closest thing to a god that exists, and the idea that some nobody just showed up and might be stronger sends him spiraling in that specific quiet, controlled way that's somehow scarier than if he just started screaming. Stormfront, freshly embedded with the Seven at this point and always eager to stoke Homelander's ego for her own reasons, tells him this can't be a coincidence. Nobody just wanders into a city with power on this level. She floats the idea that maybe this guy isn't even from their world at all, and Homelander latches onto that immediately because it gives him a clean narrative, a threat, an outsider, someone he gets to be the hero against.
So Vought manufactures a meeting the same way they always do. They stage a hostage situation downtown, a fake terrorist plot with real gunmen who don't even know they're being used as bait, all set up so Homelander can coincidentally show up at the exact same time as the mystery hero everyone's been talking about. Metro Man takes the bait, not because he's fooled by it, but because real people are actually in danger regardless of who set it up, and he's not about to let that slide just because it's a trap. He clears the building in under 10 seconds, disarms every gunman without seriously hurting any of them, and by the time he steps back outside, Homelander is already there, hovering above the crowd, playing hero for the cameras like he did something.
Homelander lands in front of him, flashes that camera-ready smile, and tries the recruitment pitch straight away, telling Metro Man he'd fit in great with the Seven, that Vought takes care of their own, that a guy this strong deserves the spotlight. Metro Man just looks at him for a long second, and something about that stare gets under Homelander's skin immediately, because it's not fear, it's recognition. Metro Man has heard this exact pitch before, word for word, decades ago, from executives back in Metro City who wanted to turn every rescue into a sponsored event. He tells Homelander, flat out, no anger in his voice, just tired honesty, that he already knows exactly what this deal costs, because he already paid it once and he's not paying it again.
That answer does something to Homelander that almost nothing does anymore. It actually rattles him because Metro Man isn't intimidated, isn't starstruck, and clearly isn't buying a single word of the performance. Homelander grabs his shoulder, trying to reassert some kind of dominance the way he does with literally everyone else in his life. And the second his hand makes contact, he feels it. This isn't just strength. This is a different category of strength entirely. Homelander is used to being the strongest thing in any room. For the first time in years, he's not sure that's still true, and the not knowing is worse than confirmation would have been.
Homelander backs off, plays it cool in front of the cameras, but the second he's back at Vought Tower, he's demanding answers. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? What's it going to take to bring him down? Stan Edgar authorizes surveillance, a full workup, and a quiet initiative to figure out this new hero's limits. Because if he can't be recruited, Vought's next move is always the same. Neutralize the threat and control the narrative around it afterward.
Meanwhile, Starlight has been watching all of this unfold too, and she brings it straight to the boys. Huey, Butcher, Kimiko, Frenchie, all of them start putting the pieces together. An insanely powerful hero operating completely outside Vought's control, someone who clearly hates the entire supe celebrity machine on principle, is either the best potential ally they've ever had or the most dangerous wild card in the city. Butcher, predictably, wants to find him before Vought does and figure out which one it is. They track him down at the dive bar, mid-set, guitar in hand, completely unbothered by anyone in the room. Starlight approaches him after the show and just talks to him straight. No games, no manipulation, telling him exactly what Vought really is underneath the marketing. A company that manufactures heroes, covers up their crimes, and treats human lives like acceptable losses in a quarterly earnings report. Metro Man listens to all of it without interrupting, and honestly, none of it shocks him as much as it should, because it's basically an uglier, more violent version of the exact system he spent his whole career trapped inside. He agrees to hear the boys out properly, and Butcher, never one to trust anyone on word alone, decides to test him the same way he tests everyone. He takes a temp dose of Compound V and throws his best shot at him, full strength, heat vision included. It does absolutely nothing. Not a scratch, not a stumble. Butcher actually laughs, that dark, satisfied laugh he gets whenever he finds a weapon he thinks he can point at Homelander, and for the first time in a long while, he starts to believe they might actually have a real shot at winning this war.
There's just one problem. Starlight is still wearing a Vought tracking implant, and no matter how careful they are, Vought eventually locks onto their location. And separately, Vought's science division has been going over every scrap of footage from Metro Man's very first public appearance, including the moment he first landed.
He doesn't wait long once he has that intel. He assembles the strongest version of the 7 he can put together, brings in extra muscle from Vought's broader roster, mobilizes the military under the justification that this unregistered rogue supe is a threat to national security, and sets up a confrontation in an isolated industrial zone outside the city where there won't be too many witnesses. Vought floods the airwaves beforehand with a narrative painting Metro Man as a dangerous, unstable outsider who's been secretly manipulating footage to make Vought's own heroes look bad. It's not subtle, and it's not meant to be. It's meant to give Homelander cover for whatever happens next.
The boys get word just in time, and they, Starlight, and Metro Man all show up together, fully aware they're walking into a setup, but unwilling to let Vought's entire military and supe machine operate unchecked. The moment they arrive, the military opens fire first, and Metro Man tanks every round without so much as flinching, then methodically destroys their weapons without hurting a single soldier, because even now, even knowing what he knows, some habits from being a real hero don't just switch off. Then the supes rush in, dozens of them, and Metro Man holds back as much as he possibly can, trying to disable rather than kill, because he still isn't fully convinced every single one of these people deserves to die for a paycheck. That restraint gets tested fast. Stormfront zeroes in on him and unleashes everything she's got. And unlike blunt force, her lightning actually does real damage, arcing straight past his durability in a way punches and bullets never could. It's the first thing all day that actually hurts him, and it staggers him just long enough for Homelander to land a full-force hit from behind. Metro Man barely keeps his footing. A-Train circles in for speed harassment, Maeve throws in a few opportunistic hits once she sees him wobble, and for a moment, the tide actually looks like it might be turning in Vought's favor. Cut. Homelander stands over him, laughing, absolutely delighted, because for the first time in this entire encounter, he's finally the strongest one in the room again, and he milks it, hitting Metro Man again and again while the cameras Vought planted roll the whole thing live, framing it as Vought's heroes finally taking down the dangerous rogue threat. Butcher isn't about to let that broadcast finish the way Vought wants it to. He signals Starlight, who lets off a flash bright enough to blind everyone on the field for a few crucial seconds, and in that window, Kimiko and MM drag Metro Man clear, while Frenchie rips the copper round out of him. The second the metal's gone, his strength floods back almost instantly, and this time, he gets back up angry. Homelander sees him rise, and for just a second, that same flicker of doubt from their very first meeting comes rushing back. Metro Man doesn't say anything clever. He doesn't monologue. He just moves, faster than Homelander expects, and drives a punch straight into his jaw, hard enough to send him skidding across the industrial lot. Stormfront tries to hit him again, but this time he's ready for it, closing the distance before she can fully charge up and grabbing her by the wrist, cutting the attack off before it can build. A-Train tries to run interference and gets caught mid-stride, taken down with a single strike that ends his involvement in the fight completely. It's Butcher who finally tips the whole fight over the edge emotionally. While Metro Man is mid-fight with Homelander, Butcher shouts over the chaos exactly what Homelander did. The murders, the cover-ups, what happened to his wife, laying it all out in the middle of the battlefield because he wants Metro Man to understand precisely what he's actually fighting. And it lands.
Metro Man has spent his whole life understanding exactly how much damage a hero can do once fame convinces them they're above consequences. And hearing the full extent of it, hearing what this specific version of that corruption actually cost real people, finally burns through the restraint he's been holding on to all fight. Stormfront gets a full force hit that finally puts her down for good. Homelander gets hit again and again, each strike landing harder than the last, until Homelander, for the first time in his entire life, actually looks scared. Genuinely scared. The kind of fear he spent decades making sure he never has to feel, because he's always been the one causing it and everyone else. Metro Man doesn't finish him off. That's not a mercy Homelander deserves exactly. It's more that Metro Man refuses to become the version of powerful that kills because it's satisfying. Instead, he turns to Butcher, who's standing there with a weapon Vought's own scientists built to kill Supes, and simply says it's not his fight to finish. It's Butcher's. Butcher doesn't hesitate for even a second. He steps forward, and whatever happens after that happens off to the side, out of frame, while Metro Man turns away entirely, because unlike everyone else in this fight, he never needed to watch. In the aftermath, with Homelander gone and Stormfront exposed on live footage that Starlight makes sure gets released to every major outlet, Vought's entire empire starts collapsing from the inside. Stan Edgar and the top executives get arrested within days. Congress moves fast for once, stripping Vought of its exclusive military contracts and handing supe oversight to an independent international body instead of a single corporation with a marketing budget bigger than most countries' GDP. Metro Man gives one public statement before he leaves, standing in front of the same cameras that spent the whole fight trying to paint him as the villain. He doesn't do a victory speech. He tells them plainly that he understands exactly how easy it is to let a crowd convince you that you're something more than human, and how much damage gets done once you start believing it. He tells them heroes should never be allowed to become brands, should never be worshipped, should never be treated as untouchable, because the second that happens, you get exactly what almost happened here. Then he tells them the actual heroes worth trusting are usually the ones who never wanted the spotlight in the first place. The ones like Starlight, like the boys. People who fought for something real instead of for ratings. Right as he finishes, a familiar shimmer opens up in the sky above the crowd. Megamind's dimensional device, finally recalibrated and tracking Metro Man's exact signature after days of frantic tinkering back home. Metro Man looks back at the boys one last time, gives Starlight a nod that says more than words could, and steps through the portal. Back to his own world, back to his own quiet, normal life, leaving the boys' universe a little less broken than he found it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more fire content. Peace out.